Hey, g'day church. It was great to be online together yesterday, and I am so grateful for the technology that we've got that allows us to keep connecting together as one large family at least once a week together. I wanted to take a few moments today, just at the start of another week, just to develop or explore some thoughts that I was sharing yesterday about the many provisions of God in our lives. The Apostle Paul says to us that our God will supply or provide for all of our needs. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that God's going to give us everything that we want in our lives? Well, no, that's not the case, but He does promise to provide for all of our needs. It kind of got me thinking about some different stories as well in the Old Testament scriptures as I thought about Abraham and Sarah. They were looking for a child, and out of the goodness of God, He provided for them in His own perfect timing. I thought of the Israelites also endeavouring to escape from captivity out of the captivity of the Egyptians on that day when they found themselves between a bit of a rock and a hard place. For them, it was a body of water, and it was the Egyptian army that was kind of coming their way. And what did God do in that moment? Well, He provided for them by opening up the waters so they could cross over onto the other side. And it wasn't long after that, as they were gathering in that region, as they were beginning to move about this rather large group of people, that they found themselves without water and food. And what did God do? Well, He supernaturally provided water out of a rock, and then bread from heaven. He was providing for all of their needs. You know, if God can provide for the needs of tens of thousands of people, then the truth is that God can provide for your needs and provide for my needs still today. That's the God that we worship and that we follow. And so those stories, they remind us that His provisions in the past guarantee His provision into the future. It doesn't mean that He's going to give us what we want, because what we want is sometimes not best, but God does promise to provide for all of our needs. And so we really can live a real life in a real world of trouble on the truth that our God is going to provide for us in every situation that we might face. And some of us are living with some real disappointments in life. We're living with some challenges of doing life today. And for some of us, that's harder than what others might be. But we have to hold on to the truth that God's going to provide for our needs, even if it's going to be in ways that sometimes maybe we haven't expected or we didn't see coming. I think one of the challenges for us in that is that when God provides for us, we've got to see that. And we've got to pause in that moment, and we've got to thank Him for His provision, as small or as great as it might be. And often I think God's providing for us in hundreds of different ways that we don't see. We just kind of move right by them. But when we see them, we need to stop and to pause, and we need to give Him thanks. And I think that's really what David was doing in Psalm 34 as he was writing out this psalm, this sacred song, a psalm of thanksgiving. He was taking some time to remember and to praise God for the various and the many blessings that he had experienced in life in the past. And he was taking that and he was hanging on to it for this particular season that he was in, to remind himself that he could move through this season, that he would come through this season, and he could be confident that God would provide for every one of his needs that he was facing in that particular moment. But you know, as we think about all of that, I think as we move into the Easter period, one of the greatest things that we should be thinking about, it's the greatest provision that's ever been given to us, and it's been the gift of God's Son. In the Gospel of John, we read, "For God so loved the world that He gave." You know, there's no greater provision than that, than the gift of God's Son, Jesus Christ, for our lives. And so as we move through this week, I think we need to take time today, tomorrow, and the lead up to Friday, and then as we celebrate on Easter Sunday, that the greatest gift that could be ever given to us in our greatest time of need has been the gift of God's Son, Jesus Christ. So I trust that this week, as we move into Easter, it is a week that maybe like you've never experienced before. Whether you're facing a disappointment or some significant suffering or hardship in your life, that you would take some time to remember God's greatest gift for you. It's the gift of His Son, Jesus Christ. That if you have nothing else but you have Jesus, then you have everything that you really could need. It's the words of what Paul said, "My God shall supply or provide for all of our needs." That's the God that we worship today, that we follow. It's the God who has got our back. And as His children, we can be confident in whatever we might face, that we really do follow a great God. So I trust you have a great week and look forward to seeing you online, whether it be this Good Friday at 10:30 or Easter Sunday, same time, as we celebrate, as we remember and celebrate our wonderful God together. God bless.